Sometimes there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Sometimes we're not ourselves. There's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. And I'll take some time, but I'll be alright. We're moving on. We're moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on. Sometimes there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Sometimes we're not ourselves. There's no one I can turn to. And I'll take some time, but I'll be alright. We're moving on. We're moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I see you guys out there. Y'all are getting on early. Guys, do me a favor, please. Invite some folks to the broadcast, like and share, like and share. I have a couple of announcements today. And we have a power-packed show, and we're looking forward to getting your feedback on propaganda. So you guys already know what the topic is, but we're going to talk about it. But before I get into that, I want to do this. Normally I would do my whole spiel and then bring my guest on, but I want to bring my guest on for this part because I want to read out loud. We'll just jump into kind of what it is that we're talking about. Please help me welcome to the broadcast today. And let me go ahead, since I prepared it and put it up here, to talk about propaganda. Anybody want to put what the definition is? It's all around us, just like it's all around me right now. Let's talk about fake news. Let's talk about misinformation. Let's talk about the lies, the false insecurity, the mistrust. Welcome, Joyce. Welcome. Let's talk today about propaganda. And so with that being said, I want to welcome our special guest to the show, none other than Mr. Martin Augustine. Welcome, a fan favorite back on Unfiltered.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. Let me give my low-key profession. I was so excited about this. I think I probably got up at about 3 o'clock this morning getting ready for this show here. So excited to be here.
Okay, well, we're excited to have you. So before we jump into today, guys, I want to go ahead and put something up on the screen because I know we got some prayer warriors in the house, and I need you guys to pay attention to what's going on in this season.
Yes.
And this is one of the things we're going to start talking about. You guys know this young lady who just appeared behind me. Her name is Roseanne Moreno. Go ahead and send her a message on Instagram. Just tell her you're praying for her. Tell her you're in her thoughts. Yes. Go ahead and continue to encourage her. She has been in the hospital with pneumonia, as well as COVID. And she is fighting that. They have her on oxygen. They just actually moved her to another hospital. So I believe in the power of prayer. I am not ashamed of the gospel. And I will tell anybody who asks me that Jesus will heal. And so those of you who believe in the power of prayer, please continue to pray for her and uplift her in prayer.
Yes.
And Martin, I brought you on because this is going to start part of the conversation for us. So let's get to it. Listen to this. Roseanne, I have to put my reading glasses on. Roseanne just posted this a couple of hours ago on Facebook. So she was transferred to another hospital because the hospital she was at was not able to give her the level of care that she needed for her condition. Okay. So she just posted this, which lets me know what's going on. She said an hour ago, there are great, wonderful nurses that treat you with dignity and care and gentleness. There are others who treat you like a number of a box that needs to be checked off their roster. They are rough and unsympathetic, and I will call you out, so beware. Remember one day that you too will be a patient. How you are treated will be dependent on how you treat others. People are suffering. The easiest of tasks are the most difficult. Lend a hand, say a word of encouragement, or perhaps it's time for you to change careers. I applaud the real nurses, the real caregivers, the ones that throw their hearts into you and everything that they have. Oh my goodness. And make sure that you have the best experience in the most awful setting. You, the real caregivers, are my heroes. And then she posted a picture of some of the real caregivers. But here's the deal. If she had not been mistreated or made to feel like, because this, this pandemic, and they're overwhelmed and they feel like people are in the hallways and there's all this stuff going on. If she had not been made to feel a certain way, would there have been a need for the post? There's only a need for the yield sign because people weren't yielding.
That's correct.
Right? And so continue to even uplift that and keep that in your prayers, because one of the conversations that we were having is that she sent a text saying that she saw an article where now that the vaccine has been gotten its stamp of approval by the FDA, that insurance companies are thinking about increasing your rate for insurance if you don't have the vaccine and making you pay more for insurance. And then I was having a conversation with someone recently about the fact that some hospitals, and this could be propaganda, so I'm gonna preface that, some hospitals are giving preference to vaccinated patients over unvaccinated patients. Let's talk about it, Martin.
Well, you always open up the hot topics for me. First of all, that's not propaganda. That is practice. That you're going to get preferential treatment. There's so much that we got to talk about when it comes to this pandemic. You talked about, let's start with the post that Roseanne did right there. I remember in law enforcement, we had a term that was called ROD. ROD meant retired on duty. That means that I really don't care about the job that I'm doing. I'm just here because I know I need to get a paycheck. There's been this propaganda surrounding this pandemic has been so financially rewarding for hospitals, while people are suffering, while people are going through whatever the go through is. It is just business.
Mm.
It's just the number, because the federal case. So why so many falsehoods, so many false positives, and when you get someone like Roseanne, who is really ill from this virus, she's treated just like the propaganda says, or the number is. You're just another paycheck. You're another person to pad the hospital's bottom line financially, and that's as much as we're going to give you because we're ROD.
Mm. You said a mouthful there, and I had to put up one of the comments from one of our faithful listeners. Thank you, Jackie McCoy, from one of our faithful Unfiltered followers, and she said they do it for smokers, and that's a good point. So insurance companies, they do increase your rates if you smoke, right? So there's a box that says, do you smoke? So they increase your rates. Is here's my opinion. I'll say this. Here's my opinion. You give me yours. I get that because for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years, we know it's scientifically proven. Like we've had decades to understand it, right? It's scientifically proven that if you smoke, you increase your chances of lung cancer.
Yeah.
And we've known that for a long time. And it's a choice to go to the liquor store or the gas station or wherever you go and get those cancer sticks. They're named cancer sticks for a reason, right? And even the secondhand smoke consequences of them. Oh, we got so many analogies here. So we understand that. So the question becomes, can you apply that to this situation and say, okay, yesterday the FDA approved an experimental drug, and if you don't get it tomorrow, your insurance rates are going to increase. What's your take?
So, man, so let's unpack that thing that you just said here. First of all, when you are talking about healthcare and when you're talking about being diagnosed with something, it's like a P&L sheet to a business. There are so many funds allocated to the treatment of the diagnosis and not the person. So if I diagnose you to be XYZ, there's funds released to me for the treatment of that, whether you need that treatment or not. So we get to treat you. So we get to act as if you were diagnosed with lung cancer, you're going to need all of the lung cancer treatment, when that's not true, because it's individual. When you talked about this approval, and you always talk about stay woke on here is a big deal. So this experiment, there's the population that, due to all the propaganda, the falsehood, or whatever their beliefs may be. And then there's that half that got it in kind of the war of the two tells. But here's what happened when they made this thing fully FDA approved. Before now, experimental drugs, you can't be forced to have to take an experimental drug. Now that it is FDA approved, now it can become mandated that you have to take this drug in order for insurances, for livelihoods, to be able to walk around with your freedoms and your liberties right now. So why did this thing get rushed so much? Here we have all these other viruses and diseases that we've had for more than my lifetime that we have absolutely no cure. There's no efficacy rates. There's nothing to treat all of the flu, pneumonia, or whatever. And in less than a year, we got this vaccine for the most deadliest viruses we have. And it's so new that they're saying, you got to get this, because we could go on forever. It's so new that the people who got vaccinated less than 6 months ago now need a booster for the vaccination that was supposed to be 99% effective. Now you got to have a vaccine booster for that in less than 6 months. And now here we are where it is 100% FDA approved, which clears the way that it is now can be mandated that you have to have it. There's so much in that. It is absolutely crazy.
It's interesting you say that. So what I want to do right now is I would like us to just take a look at some of the sentiments that are being expressed regarding, why some people are choosing not to get vaccinated and misinformation. So what I'm about to show you guys is really interesting, because I'm going to put you down there for a second and we'll take Roseanne down until the end. But I want to show you guys this because it speaks to a lot. So, and I'm going to come and deal with what Gifty just said on there in just a second, because I think that's important too. But pay attention to this right here. This is a video clip, you guys, that we're going to watch from CNN. And we're only going to watch a short portion because that's all you need to see for us to have the conversation. So here we go.
No, but I have a lot of hydrochloroquine and zinc in my house.
So have you got your vaccine shot?
Nope, don't want it.
No? Why?
They ain't tested it enough, from my opinion.
Yeah. The Pfizer shot is about to get full FDA approval. Would that change your opinion on it at all?
Not until they do a whole lot more investigating in on it.
Yeah.
Nothing's going in me until then.
Right. Do you think that would take a long time?
About 10 years or so. I don't trust the government. I don't trust CDC. I don't trust none of them.
What is it about the vaccine that?
Because I've watched Dr. T. Penny, and she's done a lot of research on it.
Dr. Sherry Tenpenny is a discredited conspiracy theorist who pushes dangerous misinformation about vaccines.
Okay, so here we go. She is, according to this, because she pushes information against the vaccine, she's discredited. And I'm not saying anything for or against it, but here's what I am saying. If you go to CNN, Martin, there are 15 videos posted now on misinformation. Okay, what's being called misinformation. The Surgeon General warns on the dangers of health information. YouTube suspends Rand Paul for claiming masks are ineffective. Twitter suspends someone for a week for talking about the vaccine. We're going to get into the censorship issue. The truth behind COVID vaccines that are being sold on the dark web. QAnon, they have all this stuff, and it's under the title misinformation. Anything that is a different opinion or offers something else is being titled misinformation if you go to CNN. But if you go to another network, it's not misinformation. It's the gospel. CNN is lying. The government is lying. The president is lying. CDC is lying. Nobody trusts anyone. So that's when we get into this idea that we're living in this. And I hear you, George. You said that came from CNN, and he just made my point. And so here's the whole thing. The whole thing is it depends on who you listen to, what you're getting. It's all called propaganda. Why? Because each person or each side has an agenda. So in this season, how do you navigate around all the propaganda? And I'm going to tell you my answer. My answer is if you ain't got the Holy Spirit, you better get them. If you don't have the Holy, you better ask for increase. Because it lies from the left and from the right. And the favorite term, Martin, that popped up over the last, 4 or 5 years, my favorite term ever was, oh, that's alternate facts. So when Derek going to safe and there's some money missing because I need to go buy something, I'll be like, oh, that's alternate facts, baby. I don't know. Maybe you did, or maybe you didn't have $500 in there. I don't know. It's alternate facts.
Too funny. Too funny. Let me dive into this because so let's give the disclaimer because you can ride either way. I believe that this coronavirus is a very real virus. I believe that it is a very deadly virus for some people. For those that need, want, or agree with the vaccine, I say don't hesitate and go get it. Those that are against the getting it because of all of the propaganda and the falsehoods, I absolutely stand with you there. So let's just go back and unpack just some highlights that I have. When this virus first came about, the first thing that was stated is that this is how misinformation and propaganda started, that the only effective mask to shield you from this is this P90 or whatever 95 mask. When it became that it was such a shortage of those P95 masks, then they reversed the statement and says, well, there are other effective methods you could use, X, Y, and Z. Here's the scientific fact. I failed science on every level of my academic career, but here's what I do know as a scientific fact. The whole reason that we have the mask or that we're doing the social distance is because the transference of this virus is from a cough or a sneeze, and that that 6 feet of social distancing will shield you. When there is a scientific fact, well, that is 3 feet now. But the scientific fact is that a sneeze or a cough travels 12 feet. Which is why there's people scratching their heads saying, well, what is the 6 feet of social distancing supposed to do? When you still having this falsehoods of like you said, you can get it from this way, but you can't get it this way. You can get it from that way, but you can't get it from that way. You've got people who are having legs amputated that saying that one, I don't know if y'all remember back in the beginning of this thing, some famous actor on Broadway got coronavirus. And shortly after that, had to have his leg amputated. And then, of course, he lost his life. And all of the elements of his illness was blamed on the coronavirus. When you have so much, that people don't know it. It's not that there's a resistance to the vaccine. It's just people can't make an informed decision because there's just so much junk put out there for you to try to decipher through. That's my 2 cents.
So, and I agree with you. And I'm going to go on something Trina said too. Trina said at the end of the day, everyone must make the best decision for them and their family. And I agree with that 100%. But what we are saying is pay attention to where you're getting your facts from. Like, we have the ability to do our own research about some of this stuff. And it is hard to trust when the conversation continues to change and continues to shift. And I understand this. I understand the right. People are like, I have a health condition. I'm fearful. I need the protection. So if it can provide me just 20%, then I want to get it. So I understand those people over here on the right. But then I also understand the people on the left who are like, this isn't tested. What if I'm that one person who gets this shot and I die? What if it makes me sick? Because some people don't get the flu shot. Why?
That's right.
Because it makes them sick. Okay. And you're right, Melissa. People are lazy. They don't want to look up the information. They would rather have CNN or Fox News is one or the other, because most people don't watch both. Okay. They got different opinions. Okay. And so the bottom line is we have got to get to a point where we watch facts. So even with this Afghanistan thing, let's talk about the Afghanistan thing. I need my military folks to raise your hands and talk to me in the chat. I need my military folks talking to me in the chat right now about your thoughts on what's going on in Afghanistan, because interestingly enough, the press secretary, from what I understand, is making it seem like they're getting everyone out and they're doing all this. But then you go look at videos of Americans who say they can't get to the airport and that they're stuck over there. Right. And that this is happening too soon. So the question becomes, where are you getting your information? Personally, I would rather listen to a person who's on the ground and in the situation than someone who's trying to get reelected. Right. Or someone who wants to push a certain narrative, because I'm going to tell you right now, they are literally hammering him on this issue. But then there's also a lot of propaganda. So where does it come from? There's so much mistrust right now because everybody has an agenda.
Yes. Here's the deal. There's a humanity crisis, and kind of like what we were talking about guests there. We tend to not think, things that affect other people in other regions of the world. Because it's not happening to us, is not our concern, but it is a humanity crisis for a reason. You said everything that needs to be said. The political opinions, thoughts, and agendas of all those that are giving us like you said, it is the tale of two tapes. It is such amazing in the conversation from Fox News to CNN. One wants to stay elected, so let's give you the information that it has nothing to do with the present, has nothing to do with what's going on. And
I think Martin is caught in the freeze there, but it sounds like he was about to say what's going on has nothing to do with the misinformation. But while he is frozen, I'm sure he will get that situated in a minute. Here's what I want to say to you guys about just everything that's going on in the world, period. I just went back and thought about what that woman said about how she doesn't trust the CDC, how she doesn't trust the government. how she doesn't trust the vaccine or any of the information. And I talk to Derek about this often. And on his side of the argument is the information keeps changing because the vaccine is so new. And I understand that part of it. However, when you put out a vaccine, a life-saving measure, right? And somebody texts Martin, tell him he's still frozen and to come on back here. He's probably over there still talking. And it's supposed to be a life-saving measure, right? And it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. For the length of time it's supposed to do it, it does cause some concern. But I do understand the rush to get it out. I'm going to say that. Facts. I do understand the rush to get it out. But we also have to understand that that rush to get it out is one of the reasons a lot of people don't want to take it, right? So we talked about vaccination discrimination on this show before, but I'm telling you, when you start talking about changing insurance rates, when you start talking about giving priority for care to vaccinated patients, that's discrimination. When you start talking about who can go where and who's invited into restaurants like they've done in New York and places like that, that's discrimination. When I think about even the New York restaurant situation, do you all know how many New York restaurant owners are not vaccinated? But there's a mandate that you can't eat at my restaurant if you're not vaccinated, but you may not be vaccinated and your employees may not be vaccinated. The reason this is so critical and it's such a divisive issue is because there's propaganda in it. It's because there's misinformation in it. It's because it's being forced, right? I see you, Martin. Okay, I see you, Martin. It's because it's being forced, okay? And so I just went on and just started talking about, the vaccination discrimination after you hopped off. So I'm gonna let you jump back in, but let me finish this comment. We have to be very careful that we don't land on the wrong side of history when it comes to this. And what do I mean by that? I mean our obligation to each other as human beings. That's what I'm talking about right now. I mean how we treat one another, regardless of whether you're for or against the move out of Afghanistan, whether you're for or against the vaccines, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat. We have to make sure that we start communicating with one another and having dialogue and having understanding and having conversation, because I'm going to tell you something. In my opinion, every large organization has an agenda, period. But we can't make it our agenda. We can't be unpaid ambassadors of an agenda that we weren't sitting at the table for when it was created. Because most of the times when an agenda is created, that was the end result. You missed all the conversations and all the objectives that happened about why we want people to do this. Because if you do it this way, then these companies who have these large PACs and who are lobbyists are going to make a lot of money. Don't get me started. And or on the other side, if you do it this way, thank you, Melissa, we have to talk it out with each other. We have to put the power back in the people. And it's more crucial now than ever. And I'm going to tell you something else. The information is out there. Y'all, stop getting it all from CNN. Like, if I talk to one more person who repeats to me something Anderson Cooper said or Ruth Brister said, and I'm listening to you and I'm like, you sound intelligent, but I heard that before. Okay. I need us to have individual, unique thoughts about why we do things, why we don't do things. And I need us to respect one another, right? In those conversations. We are not robots. We can't stare at a TV every single day, drown ourselves in the information that agrees with our perspective, right? And then go throw it up on everybody else like it's fact. It's not fact. You know what it is?
Fiction. Propaganda. I love it.
It's that.
I love it.
Repeating information from somebody else is misinformation. You're misinformed because you didn't get the information and research it for yourself. Go ahead, Martin.
Wow. Well, listen, I was looking for the offering plate while you were talking there. So here's where you got to understand the value of the community. Back in the times when our parents, and our ancestors was facing adversity. They overcame adversity because the communities came together to, invoke change. We don't talk. If you don't agree with me, you are instantaneous my enemy. The fact that we can't have an opinion different from our neighbor, our closest friends, we go along to get along. That kind of mentality is kind of how we're in the position that we're in right now, because any opposing or alternative thoughts or facts becomes a threat to whomever the author of the movement is. We've got to find a way back to the conversation and know that if we are in the, Bernadette is my friend. We're very, very close. We've yet to have, we've had differences of opinions, but we're able to talk about our differences of opinion, and it does not affect what happens next. When we're so, and understand passion is what it is. I'm very passionate about what it is that I'm passionate about. But that does not, how in the world would it be a world full of Martins? Man, this would be a messed up place if it was everybody was exactly like me, thought like me, and only so people tend to gravitate to what's comfortable, because I don't have to be accountable for an original thought. If I just get into this mix with these people, let whatever they say be the narrative, and like you said, the propaganda, I'll go perpetuate the same stories that I heard. It is amazing that here you just try this here. It is amazing that if you get 3 people in the room and they are having a conversation, and that conversation is intense, the 4th person outside of the room will take the content of that conversation, like you said, not even knowing what it's based off of, and regurgitate that same information to the next person so that it sounds like the intelligent one came from them. That's another filter for this propaganda or the falsehoods. People are just, Anderson Cooper sounded intelligent. I want to sound intelligent. So I'm going to say what I heard him say to the people in the room. They always say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. There's a lot of people that want to be in that room where they're the smartest person in the room and have to have something, that appears to be original or factual to say. And that's how those propagandas and those falsehoods get, sent throughout our communities.
Let me tell you something. Let's talk about cheese. So, no, I'm not going to talk about food. Ain't nobody got to get off. I'm not going to tell y'all what y'all can't eat. That's, I'm going to do that again. But listen. Okay, so I was having this conversation with my sister, and we're talking about scrambled eggs. And I'm going to use this analogy here. If scrambled eggs are the facts, like the sky is blue, that's a scrambled egg, right? My background is blue. That's a scrambled egg, at least what you can see. I'm sitting on a chair. That's a scrambled egg. That's a fact. It's you can't dispute it, right? The cheese is the stuff I add to it, right? And so if I take those eggs and I add some cheese to it and I scramble it all up together, you can't separate the cheese from the egg after it's scrambled. Anybody ever had scrambled eggs with cheese? You can't separate it. So then you start to not know the difference between the facts and the opinions. The facts.
Ooh, that's big. Ooh.
And the propaganda. Because it all starts to do what? It all starts to sound like the same thing. It all starts to look the same. It all starts to taste the same. You can't separate the cheese from the egg after it's scrambled.
Oh man, that's big.
That's why it's important to take what you know as fact and go find your own cheese. Because this channel got Swiss, this channel got cheddar, this channel got American. Y'all come on somebody. This channel got pepper jack, and they scrambling it, right? And you get what they want you to eat. So here's the problem. The problem is that unfortunately, and not y'all on Unfiltered, because y'all are here because we believe in what? Being blessed and staying woke. So y'all are independent thinkers. But unfortunately, hey, come on through with the Gouda. unfortunately, we have a lot of zombies out there. We have a lot of people who don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the research. They want to be able to say, somebody else told me to do that, because then they don't have to take personal responsibility for their station in life. They don't have to take personal responsibility for the decisions they make, for the opinions that they have, for any of that own stuff. Okay, I got you on the bacon cheese because I don't know, you might be able to separate that stuff. I don't know if that stuff melts with though. And so they don't want to take responsibility. That's why I don't believe in either party. I don't believe in the Democratic Party. I don't believe in the Republican Party. I believe you have to search each individual candidate. You have to search their heart. You have to search their history. You have to search and see what the truth is about who they're aligned with and what their connections are and who can influence them. It's not about blue and it's not about red. It's about us taking individual responsibility for the decisions that we make and taking our power back. But a lot of us, we're zombies, right? Because we're in an election season. We're zombies. If you're an incumbent, I'm voting for you because I didn't research the new guy. You must be good. They elected you last year. Foolish. Foolery. Let me say that right now, right? Or my grandmama was blue. Her great grandmama was blue. I'm voting this way. Or my daddy was red. I'm voting this way. The state I live in is red. I'm voting this way. What? We got to break. We got to break that. When are we going to break with tradition and start doing what needs to be done in this season? When? Martin.
Look, you got me. I'm stuck on opinions and facts. Do you know that there are so many of us that have built our lives on an opinion over the fact? Because, man, you need about 5 shows to just talk about that part right there. You talked about the political parties and you know, following party lines and do whatever. Let me just ask the question to your listeners there. Who are the American people? Do you know how many times the American people, you and I, are blamed? I'm like, who are they talking to? I'm doing this for the American people. This is what the American people want. This is what the American people think. This is where the American people, and I'm like, who are the American people? Because they didn't come in our neighborhood and ask us.
You better say it.
You know, but more people will then take that opinion of the American people from someone else's false facts and then begin to move and act accordingly. And that's how there's so much discord between Republican, Democrat, white and black, you know, haves and have-nots or whatever, because people would take it. Like I said, my whole life I've listened to the electoral BS, or maybe I can't say BS. The electoral falsehoods and propaganda in every one of, I don't care what the I think it's in the politician handbook, are those who we allow to lead us in our communities, that we doing this for the American people. What America are they living in? What America are they coming from? Like I said, I would love to be in the room when the American people are asked their opinion.
Right, because the American people don't agree on nothing. So when you say the American people, it's like, who are you talking about? That is an excellent point. So here's what I'm gonna say, and I want us to cover one more topic today. I want us to, because you know, I'm an attorney, you are a law enforcement professional, a retired detective, and I want to talk about crime.
Oh man.
Particularly, and so we're going to talk about crime when we come back. And but before we do that, because our show is about to be over in about 15 minutes, but before we do that, who is ready to be blessed? Let's go ahead and do a quick giveaway, and you're not even eligible. So Martin, shoot me a text of what today's number is, 1 through 100. Make sure I said that right. 1 through 100. Shoot me a text of what today's number is. And you guys know how we do. He's sending me that text right now. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and get back over here to graphics over here. Got you. And I do have that number in my possession now. So we're going to start the timer. You guys put 1 through 100 in the chat box. Let's go. Okay, so I'm sitting here bumping my head up and down trying to figure out why nobody guessed the number. I'm going to give you guys one more time to guess, and the first person who gets it will be the winner. Y'all start putting them numbers in the chat. So here we go again. I want the exact number. Don't put the same number. Here we go. I'm going to let y'all have a second go again. Let's go. All right, let me start this up again.
Sometimes there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Sometimes we're not ourselves. There's no one I can turn to. And I'll take some time, but I'll be alright. We're moving on.
All right, I can stop it now because I said the first person who guessed it would be winning today. Congratulations. It is our friend Marguerite. Our friend Marguerite. I went ahead and put it up on there. You are the winner for today. Let me go back over here and double check something really quick. So while you congratulate our dear friend, she has always been a supporter of Unfiltered. We're excited that you have won today because in addition to the $100 from Unfiltered, our special guest today is throwing an additional $100 in the pot. So Marguerite, you will be receiving $200 today from Unfiltered. So be blessed. God bless you. I'm so excited. You guessed it right on the head. So congratulations. So that being said, Martin, I want to end our segment talking about what has become, and I'm going to say this before I say that, a hot topic in the elections, at least here, and probably in the elections across the country, is crime, right? And I want to say this, I want to announce it, and I'll announce it at the end before I forget. We've been doing this segment called Why Should We Elect You? Here comes Santrell. She gets it later too. We've been doing this segment called Why Should We Elect You? Right? And we've had some great people come on and talk to us and answer the questions. And next week, we actually are going to be having Felicia Moore, who is currently the president of the Atlanta City Council and running for mayor of Atlanta. She's one of the top 3 runners. She will be here on Unfiltered next week. So make sure that you guys are here, and at least 500-600 people watch this show, either on the broadcast or during the recording. I want you guys all on live next week, please, because you get to ask the candidate questions and it's a rare opportunity. So I want to make sure you guys are here. So make sure we show up for that. But that being said, congratulations again, Marguerite. Make sure that you send me the information, of course, to be blessed at Bcwright, or just send me a text message so I can know how to send your funds to you. But let me say this. So it's a hot topic about crime in Atlanta. And I know we're talking about propaganda, and it's relevant. I'm gonna bring this up because a lot of the candidates are using, Keisha Bottoms, she's not running again because she can't control crime, and they're blaming the mayors and all this other stuff. And I get it. But here's what I also get. Isn't crime up across the entire country since the pandemic started?
Absolutely.
Like, crime has skyrocketed. And it's not just in the city of Atlanta, right? Talk to me about what's happening with crime.
So here's the deal. When you have a suppressed people, so this pandemic put every person in the world under house arrest. And so when you take a free society and you lock that free society up, it is just human nature that I'm going to do all I can to break from the freedoms. So now you've got all these, even going back from the biblical principle of an idle mind being the devil's workshop. You've got so much pent up and oppressed aggression and no outlet. I would call that the teapot syndrome. So here you are, and you've got all these people who you locked in. Again, it's different. And like I said, when you come from a suppressed society, but I just talk about our society, the U.S., We are a free nation, have been a free nation for all the days of our lives. Now, there are those that preceded us that it wasn't, but all of our lives, we've been in a free nation. And all of a sudden, those free liberties, those civil liberties have been taken from you for this propaganda of this virus. And so now you've been locked down, you've been taken and stripped, and now you've got all these people who have, like I said, either have all these pent up frustrations and no direction to give it, or whatever, minds that have been altered from whatever altered thinking are now looking for, or now have a platform because now there's an audience for. A lot of the crime has been done for the sake of, hey, this person made the news. That's what you get, those copycats, offenders. This person made news, it got good or whatever, I'm going to do that. Or someone who says, listen, I want out of this life that I'm in right now, but I don't have the courage to do it. So they call it suicide by cop. Let me create an atmosphere to where someone else in my life and the carnage of my alternate thinking is the crime that we're seeing spilling on the street. There's so much there. Now I'm a just for the sake of time, because you talked about the candidates here. Here's how we fix. This is only an opinion and a brick in a wall that needs to be fixed. So this doesn't mean it's the only way, but again, it is a way. You talked about a meritorial candidate that is coming on. When most people don't know that the sheriff is an elected official. He runs for his office every 4 years. When you're voting for a president, you're voting for a sheriff. That means he has an obligation to being elected. But the police chief is an appointed position, appointed by the mayor. So when you're wanting to see the different aspects in your communities, if you're not getting it from the police departments, bombard the mayor's department and tell them, I need a change in my community because that person is an elected official and if it's one constituent, I can afford to lose it. But when you're talking about hundreds of constituents saying the same thing, I'm gonna change. The last thing I'm gonna say, because you had a couple of people on your candidates on your platform that were running for city council. Those are considered insignificant races to most of us. Let me tell you the significance of that race when we talk about crime. Every police department, again, the police chief is an appointed position from the mayor, but everything that you're talking about defunding the police and taking money from the police, every ounce of the money that goes into a police department comes from the city council approving those new vehicles that they're driving. The city council has to approve that budget. They're wanting new equipment inside the police department, whatever. So now you've got the people who are sitting on these council seats that don't understand your needs. So when we look at the insignificance of a race and not understanding how significant it is to change crime in our neighborhood, we have to put the people on the city council that would hold the police department responsible for knowing the difference between our children jogging or running away from something. If we don't do that, if we look at that as like, I'm only going to vote every 4 years, and we allow everything else to take place in its absence of, then the crime that we have, we'll never be able to get a hold of it. We need to hold the city council responsible for the budgets that they release to the police department. We need to hold the police chief responsible for. You want to see a change of police presence? Go tell the police chief, I need officers. They don't have a choice. I need officers to come do a symposium in my neighborhood so that my children are not afraid of it when they're off duty, whatever.
Come on
it is,
now.
so that they now know the difference between my son who his dreadlocks being a fashion him a thug or whatever the case may be. Introduce them to your children or to your neighborhood in an environment that you can control. You can control the symposium. I need off-duty officers to come and visit with my children. They have to come. That's because that's what they're paid to do, serve and protect. We only call them when it's 911. Situation is already out of control like that. So now you've added fire to a fire that's already burning. That we put the people in what we would consider the most insignificant council there to say, listen, I don't have to worry about defunding the police. I'm just going to put someone in there that's going to hold them accountable. If I give you the money, the equipment, the needs that you have, you're going to now be obligated to my community. I can go on forever with that one.
When I say, like, you didn't see the sign? We already got signs in our yard that say Martin for office. See that right there? See?
You silly. You silly.
Right. It's right there. And I say that because what we need is what you just talked about is innovation. What we need is relationship. Oh, don't get me started on that word, relationship with one another. What we need is recognition. Okay, what we need is to understand the difference between policing and patrolling. Don't go there. So the bottom line is everything that you said is necessary. The question is, do the people we put in office get it? What's your track record?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right. Because we don't hold them accountable.
That's that part right there. What is your track record? Like, what is your history in this area? Are you bringing in a new police chief who has a track record of engaging with the community and doing community activities and showing up for different events and actually going through the neighborhoods and talking to the kids and mentoring them and partnering with the communities, partnering versus policing and patrolling? That is what we got to get to the bottom of, because safety is a primary concern. And every candidate seems to be running on crime. I'm telling you, it is a critical issue. And we got to show up not only here to talk to the candidates, but we got to show up at the polls because the power is in us. And we are the gatekeepers. So thank you, Martin, for another fantastic episode. We love you here on Unfiltered. Of course, we're going to have you back in a couple months as well, if you're available. And we'll talk about some more stuff together. So we love you. You got any closing thoughts before we let you go and we say goodbye?
Listen, I love the platform. I love what you're doing. And I pray Godspeed and blessing to the Unfiltered Army movement that we have there. The topics, guys, there's so many ways to get involved. We get tunnel vision and thinking that the only involvement means that I have to be in front of the camera. Those grassroots efforts is what changed the country from a would-be dictator to at least someone that we can have a voice. Those grassroots efforts is what changed one state's color from blue to red or whatever the case may be, or red to blue there. So, we have to exercise. Everybody feels like it don't matter. They're going to put in new office who they want to put in the office. Well, when you don't vote, when you don't get involved, you voted for your candidate. It was just postmarked to whom it may concern. You can't complain if you won't do the work in there. This is our community. Let's take it back in every aspect, from one end of the room to take back our communities. Thank you for having me. I love the platform you have.
And we love you, and God bless you, and thank you for being here with us. So guys, it's interesting, and I'm going to end with this because Martin said something just profound there about our responsibility. I read an article the other day where they did a poll about who's voting for who, and you know who's winning right now? The undecided. The undecided is winning the election by 72%.
Wow.
The only way to get the decision is to get the information out there. So we look forward to seeing you guys. And Rafiq, you're right. Voter registration is key. We look forward to seeing you all next week as we interview an Atlanta mayoral candidate here. Miss Felicia Moore on Unfiltered. Bring your questions. Bring anybody you know who lives in Atlanta who has a concern. Just show up because the opportunity is there and it's a rare opportunity. So we love you. And you know how we say always on this show. Until next time, guys, be blessed. And of course, stay woke. Again, congratulations to Marguerite. And we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
It's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. It's bigger. It's bigger. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. Yeah. It's bigger, yeah. It's bigger. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. Yeah, yeah. It's bigger, yeah. It's bigger. It's bigger than me. It's bigger. It's bigger.